Hey everyone, how is everyone going today? As you can see from the headline, it says warning around your journey of spiritual enlightenment, and that was something that I really wanted to come through and share today. The reason behind this is, hey Tracy, hey Justin, how are you guys? This is something that is really, really near and dear to my heart, and something that has always been a bit of a driving force for everything I've sort of ever done, is when you go on the journey of wanting to learn more about yourself. Everyone has a different definition of spiritual enlightenment, and I think it's really, really important to be. I'm just quickly sharing this. Let me get this done so then I can focus on what I'm saying. So here we go, it's done. So as I said, this was something that was really, really near and dear to my heart that I've been wanting to have a conversation around for a really long time. Hey Heidi, hey Susie, hey Dana. Everyone is wanting to go on this absolute gorgeous journey of spiritual enlightenment, and everyone has a different version of what that is, whether it's to connect to your intuition, to learn how to communicate to your soul through your intuition, to understand yourself on a different level, to know what are all these things that are happening for us. And when we're at that really beginning phase, we really don't know where to go. There are so many people out there that are leaders and teachers and advisors that help us on our journey. But when you're a newbie, it's really easy to get drawn into the excitement of spiritual enlightenment, of discovering yourself, of reconnecting to that intuition. And for me, this was something that I saw many, many, many times along the way, where people would start off on their journey, and because they didn't know what they really wanted to learn about themselves, they can sometimes connect with the wrong people and end up losing themselves. They lose their marbles, and I really do mean that is when I say they lose their marbles, they lose their perception on reality. They lose their perception on how to integrate the information. They forget to understand that some of the advisors that they've connected with are at such a completely different level, have taken a completely different pathway to get where they are, and that's not always necessarily a match. But when you're a beginner, you just think, oh, these people must know what they're doing, and so therefore I'll follow what they're doing, and don't communicate what their questions are, and therefore they can lose themselves big time. I've seen many people along the road for over 20 years that I've been doing this work, and I've seen so many people absolutely lose perspective on their life and go in really unhealthy places. And if you go too deep before you're ready, you can actually end up having, I have seen people have mental breakdowns and, walk away from everything because they just have lost perspective on life. And this is something that always was something I was always very, very conscious of, because there were lots of people out there that literally scared the bejeebers out of me. As in, like, for me, my belief is that we live within this reality. We live in this world, and although some of the knowledge that we can seek takes us to different dimensions, which is very, very cool, you've got to be able to know how to integrate that information that you learn about different dimensions, and how do you use this within this reality so that you can keep yourself really grounded within this world. And not everyone knows how to do that, and so therefore we can spend so much time getting lost out in these different dimensions, but we don't live there. So therefore we lose total concept on how to live confidently and comfortably within this world, and therefore we can keep ourselves, separated from other people, separated from life, not knowing how to get through this life because they're spending too much time out in different dimensions. And this was something that really did scare the bejeebers out of me, and I'm not sure if any of you have come across people that just seem to be so have gone down such completely different pathways, and you just sort of think, wow, how did you get there? And you see the struggles that they have. This was something that was very apparent in the early days that when I first began. I'm so glad this is connecting with people. So this reason I wanted to come in and have this conversation with you is because this was something that always set off an alarm bell for me, that always made me be cautious. This also helped me develop my own intuition even more so, because I learned to trust the vibes that I got. Now, don't get me wrong, I have probably done at least 12 different types of modalities of studies in lots of various fields, from crystal healing to human behavior to holistic counseling to obviously intuition, anatomy and physiology. I have done a huge array of study around spiritual enlightenment, and I've also done a great deal of that on a personal level, where I've spent hours and hours and hours researching and finding out more and more information. So this is what I want to come in and share with you, so that if you are on your quest of finding spiritual enlightenment, if you're wanting to discover and dive deeper into really connecting in with that soulful place, that core essence that helps you understand yourself on a different level, that helps you understand all of those things that are going on within you. You know, you might get vibes that you don't know that you get. You can see information or see stories or see little snippets of information popping up, or you hear communication in your head. If you have all of these kind of things and you're wanting to develop them, for me, I put them all under the umbrella of spiritual enlightenment. And it's really, really easy to get lost in all of the noise and all the glitz and glamour of what it's like to be spiritual without keeping your head screwed on right. And so for me, this was a conversation that I've probably wanted to have for a long time. And so today is the day. So if you are wanting to discover more and more about yourself, I'm going to share with you some tips that helped me along my journey, so that I didn't lose my shit or lose my marbles, because it's easy to. I've seen so many people that have gone to someone who's an advisor or someone that's really advanced at where they're at, and they look awesome and you want that for yourself, and they start sharing with you how they did it, and then all of a sudden cogs in the wheel are not clicking and you don't know how to put it all together, and it's too deep and it's gone too far, and you really do think like you're starting to lose your marbles. So I don't want this for you. So I am going to share with you some really great tips that helped keep me on the pathway to, you know, people. I can understand why people in the spiritual industry or people outside of the spiritual industry look at people in the spiritual realm and think, man, you guys are just too fucking weird. Believe me, I've come across a ton load of them and have thought to myself, I never want to get to that place. So you've got to be really conscious. Number one, really, really conscious on what is it that you're seeking? What are you looking for? That's number one. You've got to understand, even if you're not sure, just wait until you do know what it is that you're looking for along your spiritual journey. Because you don't have to jump in just because everyone is doing something. That's the biggest problem. Everyone thinks, oh, they're all doing it, then that must be the right thing for me. And humans, we don't want to miss out. We want to be in where all the cool kids are. So if you don't know what it is that you're looking for, wait until you do. Keep asking yourself more questions. How can I learn to discover myself on a deeper level? What is my next step? Share with me the next person that can help me along this journey, and until that answer is revealed, just keep asking those kind of questions so that you understand on a deeper level what it is that you're looking for. Because it's like going, well, I want a car, and then going to a car yard and there's 50 million cars there, and all of a sudden you walk out with a car and go, I don't know what the hell I just bought that for, but I got so caught up in the concept of buying a car that I just bought the very first thing. Well, that's the same with spirituality. There is 50 million different types of modalities, lots and lots of ways to go and explore yourself. Be aware of what it is that you are wanting to learn. So that's my first very big tip. The second, I'm so glad that other people are finding, that they can feel crazy and yuck, they get a feeling of overwhelm. I'm so pleased that this conversation is connecting with you, and I really believe that after today you will have so much information that you'll be able to go along with to be able to help you on your journey. So as I said, the very first thing to do is be mindful of what it is that you're seeking. For me, when I started my journey many years ago, my whole purpose around why I have done what I've done, the main driving force was I needed to understand who I was on so much more than just that human level. I could see things, I could hear information, I could connect to people's essence, I could feel their vibes. I had vivid dreams that showed up as reality within a couple of months. This was the journey of what I needed to go and understand. I needed to be able to understand why that happened. What was I supposed to do with it? How could I learn more about it? What direction did I want to go in to be able to learn that? And so therefore, because of asking those questions, that helped me always find the next bit of information, or to take that very first step. So my second tip is that when you go and learn things, this is the number one biggest tip out of anything I share with you. Make sure that you take on board this. A lot of the people, part of the reason why they lose their marbles and lose perspective and lose themselves on the journey of their spiritual enlightenment is they just keep doing. They just keep doing more courses, taking on board more information, keep seeking and seeking and seeking, and this is where you get lost, because you can have information that is way too advanced for where you are at. And not just that, you need to be able to understand that you are not just supposed to take on board information, or else you become a library. You have an array of information, but you have fucking no idea how to use it. The number one important thing that I always did was that when I did my study along the way, as soon as I was signed up for it, I was always looking at how can I implement this? How can I start working with it? How can I dive deeper into helping myself? And then once I did all of that, then it was how can I use this information to help my clients? So everything was always about integrating and practice, integrate, practice all the time. And then once I'd done that, then maybe another 3 to 6 months down the track, then I would pursue what would be the next level of information that I wanted to add on top of that. I didn't just do one course after another, after another, after another. You must learn how to implement the learnings and the information that you have learned, because you've got to be able to, for me, what I do is that I will go and get information, or I'll seek out information. Then because I am one of those people that I need to understand how it all works, not just that little bit that's been given to me. I need to understand the whole workings of it. So I'll get that information, I'll pull it apart and put it back together in a way that I can use it. How can I use it to the most optimal level that vibes with me? And therefore, when you go to implement it and take the actions, whether it's with yourself or working with clients, you have this really deep level of understanding, because you haven't just taken on someone's information as its whole truth. You've taken on that information as truth and then defined it on how to make it work for you, because every single person has their own unique style, and that is what you're supposed to learn, is how to take that information and turn it around so that it really deeply connects with you, so that when you share it or you're becoming curious about it, you're discovering more and more about your own self. So that's really, really important, is learn the Sorry, I just had a call. So learn the information that you are going out there seeking on your spiritual journey and implement it straight away. Practice it, have fun with it, get curious with it, pull it apart, put it back together again, see if that works. These are all the part where we start to develop even a deeper understanding around the content, but you also start to get a deeper level on discovering who you are, which is a lot of the times the biggest question that we're all seeking. Who am I? So this helps you develop more of that. The next part of next thing I want to share with you is understand your levels. understand where you're at in your journey. If you are a learner, then do learner type information. If you're at that intermediate level where you have a little bit of framework around the direction that you want to go in, and you want to start diving into that next level bit of information, then you're at that intermediate stage. And if you're at that advanced stage, then you apply information that is applicable for where you're at. A lot of people get caught up in the sparkles and all the fandangles of doing the spiritual journey and go, okay, I've done one course and I want to go and do this. And it's way outside of their spectrum of how they can even connect the dots. We have to understand that although we have this incredibly wise soul that is sharing information with us all the time, that soul gets frustrated because the human part of our brain has got to catch up with it. So you've got to give it that space to be able to catch up with all the freaking information that you're getting, and that is paramount. Many people I saw start at the beginning and freaking went way too deep within about 2 or 3 months, completely lost their shit, and then they turn around and go, oh, the spiritual industry is not for me. You've got to be able to understand. It's the same as when you're driving a vehicle. When you are a learner, you only have the skill set of a learner. You only have the understanding of a learner. Then you move on to your P's, and then you move on to your opens. Those things can't be rushed. And that is the biggest problem when people are wanting to dive more into their spiritual journey or their spiritual awakening or their spiritual enlightenment, whatever the language is that you use, is they want to speed up that process and do shit that is too advanced for them. This is where it is super important to just understand where your levels are. Definitely, I'm so pleased that this is really vibing with everyone, and that I feel like everyone's brain's getting like little ticks and like aha moments from this information. So if that's happening for you, I am so grateful to share this knowledge with you. The next is find yourself a trusted advisor, a trusted teacher, whatever the language is that you want. This to me is one of the most important. I see that you've written there, Shaman, it only comes when we're ready to handle it. I don't believe so, love. I think, which is going to connect in with this information that I'm just about to share, I don't believe that's true, because I think sometimes when you're on the journey of like trying to discover who you are or going on that spiritual enlightening journey, you're always going to come across people that are a lot more advanced, and that person, you yourself, will want to be where they are and want to speed up that process, and you're not ready to handle it. And that is the biggest problem, is that through that lack of knowing how to tune into their intuition, they bypass all the warning signs that are coming up for them because they just get caught up in the shiny syndrome. So I don't always believe that when you're ready to handle it, the stuff turns up. I think some shit can show up when you can't handle it, and that can also be the lesson for you to learn, but it's a really fucking hard one, and one that is one of the major reasons why I'm doing this, because I want people to really understand that don't get caught up in the shininess of the spiritual industry. Take your time as you go through your journey. If you speed it up, you'll only end up hurting yourself and probably think that this is not for you and walk off and never come back to it, because you end up having such a terrible experience. And I've heard that so many freaking times. And that is also a major driving force as to why I do what I do, because it is so important to have a trusted advisor to help understand where you're at, where you would like to be. And a trusted advisor will know where to keep you on track, to not let you race off in front, not let you get lost in your own shit of this and the shiny, sparkly awesomeness of what it's like to get to the end and have all of that really cool shit of being like having all of that intuitive information just come to you easily, all of that kind of stuff. You've got to be able to absorb the information, implement it, work with it, play with it, experiment with it, dive in deeper and develop more of yourself. And this is where it's so important to have a trusted advisor, so that they No, if you're going too far, they're going to pull you back and say, hey, this is your little zone. Stay in here. There is a reason that we take these steps so that you can absorb all of the information, because you're not going, even if you race to the end, you're not going to be able to absorb it, implement it, and it will be a waste of time and energy, and can be the cause of even more fears and doubts if you go too far forward than what you're capable of. And there will be some people, like any industry, the spiritual industry is no different than any other freaking industry. There will be people out there that are still completely consumed by their own ego and want to take you in directions that are different than where you want to go. They'll want to take you faster than what you're capable of. And this is where you've got to be able to start connecting in with your vibe. Start tuning, as they say, always trust your vibes because it's always right. Even if you don't understand, if all of a sudden you've signed up and you're doing some work with a trusted advisor, there will come a point where sometimes all of a sudden your little alarm bells, your own little intuition will go, hey, stop and just take a step back. There is a very big reason why it's coming up, because we can meet people along our journey and there's a really nice connection. And remember that people always come into our life for a time, and when that time has come, then we move forward until we meet the next connection. So sometimes when you start off with an advisor, they may not be with you for the whole entire journey, because all of a sudden there's no longer alignment, or the direction that they want to go in, or the journey where you started and where you've done a little bit of work, all of a sudden you decided, actually, I would like to really pursue this. You've got absolute more clarity around that. That advisor is not going to be happy, because they want you to stay with them forever, because they think they're the shit, without realizing that a true trusted advisor is going to share with you, help you along the journey, help you explore this, help you unlock your potential, help you heal your past traumas along the way, to help you grow into that deeper connection to feeling confident around your intuition. But some people, some advisors are so caught up on their own ego that they think they're the fucking bomb and will choke your growth, because sometimes students can excel past their advisors. And this is where you've got to learn to trust those vibes. If you get a vibe that all of a sudden there's just no connection with that particular person, trust it. There's a very big reason. There are still people in this industry that are still very ego driven, and their pure intention isn't about how to help people grow. Sometimes they can lose that perspective, and that is not just, as I said, in the spiritual industry, that is in every industry. So trust the vibes that come through for you. Find yourself that trusted advisor. Ask questions if things come up. Become curious. Never be afraid. If you've got an amazing advisor or an amazing spiritual teacher, they're never going to squash your growth. They're never going to not have an answer for you. They are going to want to help you along your journey. That is what a true trusted spiritual teacher will do for you. And if you find that all of a sudden it's not like that, then take heed of the warning. It is coming through from your soul for a very big reason. That is something that is huge to take on board. All of these things that I've shared with you are always all different ways to help you find yourself along the journey. Definitely the journey between teacher and student is always going to be what I've always shared with my students. You are a teacher and a student all at the same time. It makes no difference. The teacher is learning from the students, and the students are learning from the teachers. It is this beautiful bond. It is this beautiful mesh of discovering new things about each other and finding different ways to help connect with people from a teacher's perspective. How can I make sure that this is really connecting with them? How can I help them grow? Being able to pick out those areas to say, hey, things are getting a little bit off key, come back in. You've taken the knowledge and you're going off on your own little tangent. This is not healthy. Bring it back in. This is where the focus is. Don't get lost. And as I say, humans have the capacity to take on information, take on something and fucking break it down into a million pieces. And therefore, man, that's like visiting Crazy Town, because all of a sudden you haven't just got one bit of information, you have now got 100 pieces there that you don't know what the answer to. And a lot of the times as students, when we are learning or in a beginner or even in the intermediate phase, we are afraid to ask questions because we don't want to come across as sounding stupid, or we don't want to come across as sounding like too weird. You have to remember, you must always come back and ask these questions to your teacher, because they're going to help you bring yourself back into alignment. Help you, if you have got a little bit distorted in your perception, how to bring that back in again so that you don't lose yourself and lose your marbles along the way. Because remember, the whole reason that you're going on this quest of spiritual enlightenment is to find yourself. The last thing you want to do is lose yourself way over in fucking Crazy Town. A true trusted advisor will start seeing those alarm bells and come in and say, hey, hang on a second, pull it back in again. This is our playing field, and this is where we play, and out here is Crazy Town, and we don't need to visit that. So this is where it's so, oh, you're so gorgeous. Thank you so much, Tracy. So this was something I have been deeply, deeply passionate about, and was also one of the biggest main driving forces for why I became a teacher. And nearly every bit of, when I was a massage therapist, I became a teacher in that, because I saw shitty therapists. I thought there is no point whinging and complaining about an industry or people not moving into that space if I'm not going to step up and share the knowledge that I had. So I became a teacher in that. The same philosophy came when I decided to shut down that business as a hands-on therapist, because it saddened my soul to see people losing their marbles or coming across the wrong trusted advisor or not knowing how to implement this information. So therefore it was either, I've always lived by this philosophy for my own self, that if you aren't going to do anything about it, then shut the fuck up, Rachel, and you don't get to complain and you don't get to make judgment if you're not going to step up and create the change or help people along that way. So this played over in my mind for a little while before I actually decided to close up my business and move into becoming a teacher and sharing the knowledge. Because for me, again, it comes back to that very first bit of information that I shared with you. You're not here just to absorb information. Even when you're a newbie or an intermediate or an advanced level, you are there to take on the information, dissect it, put it back together again, see how it works for you, go and play with it, go and experiment with it, go and practice it all the time, and then you share that with other people. So you learn, you do, and then you share. So this has always been that driving force. So that was what encouraged me, was that, again, if there is shit out there, don't complain unless you're going to help create the change. So that was the biggest driving reason why I became a teacher. But I understood at a core level when I started my journey, it wasn't about teaching. My very first beginning journey was about me learning to understand who I was. And then as things evolved, then the journey was still always about discovering more about myself, but then it took on a new layer. It had a new layer of how can I help share this knowledge? How can I help people along that way? And then it became, okay, well, I want to do it more than just with my clients. I actually want to teach, and I want to teach in schools. And it moved to another layer, and then it moved to where it is now. But I was always aware of these different layers and how I wanted to do that. I understood myself at a very, very deep level. This is really, really important information for any of you starting your journey, to be aware of these types of questions, to be aware of the warning signs when you are out there, and to be aware of what it is that you're seeking. Because sometimes if you don't know what you're seeking, anything can show up and you're going to think if it's showing up in my world, it's the right thing for me. It's not always the right thing. Trust the vibes you get. Your soul knows that right person, that right trusted advisor for you, because it will just feel so right. And this is where it's really important. So I really hope that there has been some absolute nuggets of gold that you guys can take away from this information from today, whether you need to go write them down so that you can keep them consciously aware along your journey. If you do notice things start to get a little bit off track, then at least if you've written these down, you can go, okay, well, where is it that, what part of these areas that Rachel has shared with me today have I sort of gone off track a little bit, and then make adjustments to bring yourself back into alignment. So I really hope that this has all given you some wicked information to go away and think about, to go and consider and contemplate, and to go in and ask yourself the question, which also definitely connects in with today's oracle card, which was Speak Your Truth, which was about your soul wanting to deeply connect with you and share guidance and information. So please take this information on board. If you have any other questions, feel free to throw them in the comments area, or if you would like to keep it a little bit private, please feel free to just send me a message through Messenger. And if you feel that I could possibly be the right advisor for you to help you go on your spiritual journey, I'm here to help you any way, shape or form that I can. And would love to be able to help you along your quest and journey along this, because it is something that I am so deeply passionate about. So if you want to jump on board with the program that I have, feel free to reach out, and can have a special Sacred Soul chat and see if what I've got to offer is part of your spiritual enlightenment pathway, or if I am that trusted advisor that you're looking for. But remember, trust the vibes that come through for you. Your soul knows the right thing. Sometimes you've just got to trust it, even if you don't understand, still trust it. It is the right thing for you. So as always, take care, and remember to believe in the magic of your intuitive soul self. It knows more than your human part. So take care. Much love to you all, and please feel free to share this.